Let's be real for a second. Our relationships, they're pretty much everything, right? They can be the source of our biggest highs and, well, our most crushing lows. So today, we're going to dive into the science of what actually makes our connections tick and what makes them fall apart. It's a crazy paradox, isn't it? How can the exact same thing, a relationship, be the best and sometimes the absolute worst part of our lives? It's a huge question, and digging into the answer tells us so much about who we are and what we truly need to feel alive. And the stakes couldn't be higher. I mean, on one hand, when our relationships are good, they are so good. They're the foundation of our happiness, our well-being, they're our safety net. But when they're bad, oof, they become our biggest source of stress, of pain, and can even literally make us sick. So to really understand our relationship habits, we have to go way, way back to the very beginning. Because it turns out our very first bonds with our caregivers create a kind of blueprint, a blueprint that shapes how we connect with pretty much everyone else for the rest of our lives. This is what's called our attachment style. This idea comes from a psychologist named John Bowlby. He figured out that how our caregivers responded to us when we were infants, were they there for us, were they consistent, creates this internal working model in our brains. It's basically our default setting for trust, for intimacy, for how we expect people to treat us. Okay, so this is where it gets personal. As we walk through the four main attachment styles, I want you to think about which one kind of sounds like you. And hey, there are no right or wrong answers here. This is just a little self-discovery. Ready? All right, first up, we have secure attachment. You can think of this as the outcome of consistent, loving care when you were a kid. People with a secure style generally trust others, they find it pretty easy to get close, and they're cool with depending on someone and having that person depend on them. It's a stable, healthy base. Next is preoccupied attachment, which is sometimes called anxious attachment. This one's often rooted in care that was kind of inconsistent, sometimes there, sometimes not. As an adult, this can translate into really craving closeness, but also constantly worrying that your partner doesn't love you back as much as you love them. It's that anxious, are we okay feeling? Then we've got fearful attachment. And this one is a serious internal conflict. It's like hitting the gas and the brake at the exact same time. You desperately want an intimate relationship, but you're also terrified of getting too close because you're convinced you're just going to get hurt. It's a painful push and pull between wanting connection and fearing it. And finally, there's dismissing attachment. The lesson learned early on here was that relying on yourself is just safer. Maybe care was distant or rejecting. So as an adult, the motto becomes, I'm good on my own, thanks. Independence is the top priority, and deep emotional connection can feel threatening or just unnecessary. Okay, before anyone starts to worry, this right here is the most important takeaway of this whole section. Your attachment style is not a life sentence. It's not set in stone. Because these patterns were learned, they can be unlearned. New, healthy, secure relationships can literally help you rewrite that old blueprint. And there is so much hope in that. So we've got our internal blueprint. But what about love itself? What is it actually made of? Well, one of the best ways to break it down comes from a psychologist named Robert Sternberg and his triangular theory of love. Sternberg said, look, we can think of any kind of love as a recipe with three main ingredients. First, you've got intimacy. That's the warmth, the closeness, the we just get each other feeling. Then there's passion. That's the fire, the physical attraction, the can't keep my hands off you drive. And finally, there's commitment. That's the conscious choice to stick with it, the I choose you part. And this is where it gets really cool. You can mix and match these three ingredients to create all the different types of love we experience. So passion by itself, that's infatuation, a crush. What about passion and commitment, but no real intimacy? That's fatuous love. Think of that couple that gets married in Vegas after 2 weeks. Then you have companionate love, high intimacy and commitment, but the passion has maybe cooled off. This is common in great friendships or long-term marriages. And the goal for many? Consummate love, where you've got all three firing on all cylinders. Okay, so we understand our personal blueprint, and we know the ingredients of love. But how in the world do you make it last? This brings us to some absolutely groundbreaking research that figured out how to tell the masters of relationships apart from the disasters. So a researcher named John Gottman did something wild. He brought couples into what he called the Love Lab and discovered he could predict with over 90% accuracy whether they would stay together or divorce. 90%. So what was the secret? What was he looking for? And the answer is so simple, but it changes everything. It turns out it's not about if you fight, because guess what? Everyone fights. Conflict is normal. The single most important predictor of success is how you fight. The way you communicate during a disagreement is the whole ballgame. And Gottman even boiled it down to a number, a magic ratio, really. He found that the masters, the couples who stayed happy, maintained a ratio of at least 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. And get this, that's even during an argument. They're still finding ways to show affection, crack a joke, or show support in the middle of a fight. That's a game changer. So what about the couples who don't make it? The disasters. Well, they fall into these 4 toxic communication traps that actively destroy connection, and Gottman gave them a pretty epic and fitting name: the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Let's quickly break them down. First is criticism. This isn't just a complaint, it's an attack on their character. Not "you left your socks on the floor," but "you're such a slob." Then comes contempt, and this one is the single biggest predictor of divorce. It's mockery, sarcasm, eye-rolling, it's pure poison. Third is defensiveness, where you play the innocent victim to flip the blame. And finally, there's stonewalling. That's when someone just completely shuts down, puts up a wall, and refuses to engage. And look, this stuff about communication isn't just for romantic partners. These patterns show up everywhere, and that's so important to remember, because a truly flourishing life isn't just built on one person, it's built on our entire social world. We need both what are called strong ties and weak ties. Our strong ties, that's our inner circle, our family, our best friends, they're our rock, they provide that deep support. But don't sleep on your weak ties. These are your acquaintances, your colleagues, the person you chat with at the coffee shop. They are the bridges to new information, new perspectives, and new opportunities, like finding a job. You absolutely need both to thrive. So we've covered a lot of ground, from our internal blueprints to the ingredients of love to the habits that can make or break a connection for good. So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. Based on all these building blocks, which relationship in your life deserves a little more of your focus? Because at the end of the day, the quality of our lives really does come down to the quality of our relationships. Thanks for exploring this with me.